Welcome back to day 10 of our 14-day crash course. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between a relational leader and a poor leader. You see, in traveling the world and training thousands of people and being in hundreds of churches and hundreds of companies, I think I have seen a wide variety of leaders. And I want you to know that what I'm about to say could be a little bit controversial, so please give me a little grace. I'm passionate about helping all leaders, especially those with character, become relational leaders. I have seen extremely successful leaders with large organizations, huge churches, a large company, great success in numbers, but horrible success in relationships. I've seen them, I don't even know how they do it. I've seen them grow their business with massive turnover and hurt feelings along the way. What I want you to do is pause for a second, and I just want you to imagine that you call a timeout in your life, or maybe you're 70 years old, and I want you to look over your shoulder and look backwards at all that you've accomplished. Because here's my $1 million question. How did you treat people along the way? How did you treat people when you were climbing the ladder of success? I personally believe at this stage in my life that how I treat people matters far more than what I teach people. And there's been times in my past I would give myself an A+, and there's times I give myself an F. And that's the question I have for you. And if I were to quiz your staff, and if I were to ask everybody around you, how are you treated? What would they say? You see, I'm not asking them how smart you are. I'm not asking them how brilliant you are with business. I'm just asking them a simple question is, how do you feel treated? Recently, I went golfing with a doctor. And as we were going for a stroll down the fairway, I remember we were just chatting about his clinic. And I had never done any work in his clinic and didn't really know him that well. And we were just chatting. And out of the blue, he said something like this. He said, I get a very big bonus at the end of every year. And I said, okay. And he said, I believe that it's not fair that all the nurses and all the staff that work under me don't get a bonus. And I said, okay. He said, so what I do, and nobody knows this, is I take half of my bonus and I give it away. I pay out all the nurses and I pay out all the staff, and it's a large amount of money, and they all get this particular sum of money. And I tell every single one of them that I care about them, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be successful. And I walked over to him and I gave him a big hug. And I said, brother, I wish more doctors were like you. I wish more CEOs were like you. I wish more senior pastors were like you. Because sometimes in our assertion to climb the ladder, we kind of forget who got us there. Sometimes we start to think that people are just a means to get us where we want to go. They're a means. I've done it, and I've repented. And I want you to know that the people that work with us and for us and under us and around us are the reason that we are where we're at. I almost would say that the most valuable asset in any organization are all the people that work in it. I would even say the people that are non-leaders can sometimes become more valuable because they're the ones doing the work on the front line. They're the ones paying the price. They're the ones putting their shoulder to the grindstone in churches and in companies. They're the greatest asset. They should be treated as such. And so are you a relational leader or are you a non-relational leader? I'm sure that we could come up with 50 other adjectives, but my passion and my focus is to help you become a relational leader. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Matt, I can't be everybody's friend. I get it. Matt, I don't have time to build a relationship with everybody in my company or all my staff or everybody in the congregation. Time out. I get it. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I want you to imagine for a second this image of a snowman. Okay? At the top of the snowman is the head, and that's you. You're the head. You're the head of the organization. You're the head of the church. No problem. Below you is a larger circle, like another body of the snowman. And it's what I call the staff. In a church, it would be all the staff and lay leaders. In a company, it would be all the employees that work for you. Below that is the largest circle, which is underneath. It's the congregation of a church, or it could be the customer base of a company. Well, here's what I've observed with dealing with hundreds of companies in the corporate world and now hundreds of churches in church world. The head, the top, the president, the senior pastor, spends more time focused on the bottom circle, okay? So in corporate world, that might be, I'm more focused on the sales to the customers, the numbers. And in church world, that would be a senior pastor saying, I'm more focused on the congregation or the numerical growth. Or another way to say it is, how many people fill the seats in my church on a Sunday, or my sermon. I'm more focused on my sermon to the congregation, okay? And what's happening is the head of the snowman is completely overlooking the center circle of people. And he's looking past them and spending 90% of his time focused on the congregation. Or in the corporate world, spending most of his time focused on the product sales, the service sales, and maybe the customers. My job is to help you unleash your power to build relationship with those in that second tier, that second circle. If a CEO or a senior pastor can really understand that it's all the people in that second circle, that if you can build relationship, build trust, figure out a way to give them the time they need, the value that they need, they're gonna work with you forever. Just like this doctor that gave the nurses half of his bonus. These nurses aren't gonna quit on him. They're gonna follow him until he retires. Why? It's not because of the money. It's because he valued them. He focused on them. He raised their value. And that's my job, is to help you become a relational leader. And it might take just a little bit of tweaking. And for some of you, it might need an overhaul to become a relational leader. I remember speaking to a senior pastor of a church of 10 campuses, probably over 10,000 people in his church. And we were talking about this topic. And I asked him the question, how do you stay in touch with your staff? You have a huge staff. Here's what he said. He said, Matt, I went to our budget and I went to our elders and I budgeted X amount of thousands of dollars and they approved it. And I went to every single one of our pastors of all of our campuses and all of our associate pastors and all of our key leaders. And I said, I'm going to give you $500. And you're going to pick one day a year. And I'm going to spend a whole day with you, spending that $500 on you. And we're going to go off campus and we're going to do whatever you want to do. And my mouth just dropped open. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, I want my key leaders in that second circle. I want them to know how much I love them. I care for them. I want to build into them. I don't care how big we get. I cannot take my eyes off those men and those women. Wow. Huge church, huge organization, so many people. But he understood the power of relationally building up this second circle of people that will go out for him, and they're going to be able to accomplish far more than he ever could without them. Same thing in a company. A CEO should understand that it's everybody under him, that second tier. That's where the power is. And so how can you invest in them? I'm not asking you to build a budget and to spend an all day with everybody that's key to your company. But I am suggesting, and I will help you build some kind of strategy. But doing nothing isn't going to work. And I'll help you with it. I'll help you understand how to build relationships with those that are very difficult. I remember sometimes having very difficult people working under me. It was my job to fix that, my job to try to build that relationship. It was my job to try to adapt to them. Did you hear that? I wanted to adapt to my team because everybody on my team was different. And I had to be the one to adapt to them. And I wanted relationship. I remember one time I had a woman that worked under me, and she was probably one of the smartest women I know, far smarter than me. But she had a little bit of a temper. And she, sometimes I think I just rubbed her the wrong way. And tension started to build. And I valued her. And I needed her. And so tension started to build. And finally one day, I decided to take her out to lunch. And I told her that I was sorry. I said, whatever it is I'm doing, I'm sorry. What can I do to better adapt to you? And I'm telling you what, from then on, we had the best relationship. It mattered to me. I want to be a relational leader, and that's what I want for you. One of the best ways to become a relational leader is to master the Spaceball Diamond that we created. Learn how to round the bases with your staff. Learn how to round the bases with your leadership team. Learn how to round the bases with people. They'll feel valued. They'll feel listened to. You'll get their buy-in. They'll be part of your solutions. And sometimes it only takes 5 minutes. So that's it. I look forward to seeing you in the next segment.